The phrase sneakers are dead has been thrown around so casually lately, but let's be real. It's a lazy take, usually said by people who were never actually a part of the culture in the first place. These are the same people who only ever looked at sneakers as a hustle, a quick flip, or a way to flex online. They were here for the hype, the profit margins, and the trends, not the history, the design, or the stories behind the shoes. So now that the resale bubble is deflating and many once sneaker resellers have jumped ship to chase other trendy niches, suddenly the whole culture is just magically dead? No. What's dead is the hype cycle that once depended on with sneakers. What's fading is the illusion that sneakers only mattered when they were profitable. The culture is still very much alive and no longer just catering to people who treated it as a hustle instead of a passion. The sneaker game is finally shedding the hype beasts and the opportunists. And if anything, that means it's returning to what it was always meant to be, what it used to be over a decade ago. If you ever truly love sneakers, none of this should feel like a death. You shouldn't be mourning and feeling somber that now many of us who were never lucky enough to hit on sneakers now can finally. It feels like a cultural reset. But the same people now yelling, "Sneakers are dead, guys!" are the ones who built their entire online identity around the hype, their scarcity, and the clout that came with it. When you build your entire social media brand around bragging, flexing limited sneakers, showing off early pairs, or being privileged enough to consistently pay resell or have early access through connections, it really shouldn't surprise anyone that now as the hype fades, you're the one claiming that sneakers are dead. I saw this video posted by Seth Fowler where the thumbnail was proclaiming, which the video consists of an interview with fucking Kais Omar. And honestly, the irony couldn't be more obvious. These are two guys who were once at the top of the sneaker YouTube game, riding the wave of hype and exclusivity, building massive audiences off the back of limited drops and brand connections. But now, despite having over 1 million subscribers each, their channels barely pull the same views as me. It's like the exoskeleton of what their platform used to be is still standing, and there's no real life left in it. Just echoes of a time when sneakers were the algorithm's favorite buzzword. Instead of adapting or evolving, they're sitting behind microphones, reminiscing about the glory days when the hype was high and so were their views, money, and relevance. They're mourning a formula that stopped working for them, and look at the state of their channels. And ironically, in a thumbnail titled, they never actually said those words, yet everything about the video just reflects it. They dance around the topic, reminiscing about the peak of sneaker hype, unknowingly revealing just how much their relevance was tied to it. Now that the hype is gone, so is the spotlight, not just on the shoes, but on them.
I think the only thing that kind of sucks is if you know me and you know my audience, I've always had some people who just don't like me.
Right.
I've always had that little bit of hate. And I get it. It could be from, you know, the flexing or getting free stuff from companies, or it could just be like, there's a lot of jealousy in the world of sneakers because, again, we're all after the same pairs. We're all after the same stuff. So when you see some guy always getting the hype shoe, or you see some guy who's eating cereal out of a shoe, I get that I could be annoying to some people because, again, there's a lot of jealousy in this world.
Genuinely, I don't think anyone was ever truly jealous that Kais Omar had sneakers others couldn't get. It was never about the shoes. It was about how they used them to fuel his inflated, narcissistic persona online. The sneakers weren't the issue. It was the way he made them central to his identity, constantly flexing, clickbaiting his content, and portraying himself as the main character in a world that revolves around limited releases. During the peak of his channel, which coincided with the peak of hype culture, his content wasn't like Seth Fowler's, where the focus stayed on just the sneakers and reviewing and talking about them. With Kais, it was always about him first, the shoes second. That's where the so-called jealousy came from. Not envy over sneakers, but the frustration with the arrogance and the lack of self-awareness in how he presented himself online. People didn't resent his collection. They were just tired of watching a narcissist treat the culture like a personal pedestal.
There was a few people who kind of pissed me off and stuff like that, but there was never like oh, I'm gonna quit because of this. You know what I mean? It was just people. I understood that there were some people that just don't mess with me, and also there were certain times when I'm like, hey, I'm gonna do this, and I can't wait to see people get pissed off.
Right.
There was times when I knew I was gonna piss people off.
So he openly admits that he knew exactly what he was doing, purposely pissing off people, feeding into the negativity, and leaning into the rage bait. Nothing to do with the actual genuine culture of sneakers. And yeah, maybe some people were frustrated watching someone like him, a culture-vulturing hype beast, rack up pairs just because he could, not because he actually cared. It wasn't about envy. What's there to envy when you strip away all of his materialistic possessions? It was just about the way he treated sneakers like props, not passion. He was capitalizing on the hype without ever really respecting the culture behind it.
It really felt like, me and my boys talk about this, we felt like a freaking rock band or something. Like, and I'm really happy that in the moment I didn't take it for granted.
Yeah.
Because obviously I know for now, if I go to a sneaker event, I don't have those crazy lines. Like I understand it. I try to be as humble as possible.
I think during the peak of sneaker hype culture, there was a strong, almost unspoken collective identity built around sneakers, like having a rare pair somehow made you rare as well, like the sneaker was like a reflection of who you were. That era created a kind of cultural hive mind where everyone was chasing the same pairs, the same feeling of exclusivity, and Kais at the time was the physical embodiment of that hype. His entire life revolved around sneakers, wrapping his car in sneaker brands, proposing to his wife at SneakerCon. His identity was sneakers, and he projected the same energy everyone else was feeding off of. But that moment in culture has passed. One of the reasons why people say, oh, sneakers are dead, is because the hype isn't centralized anymore. It's fragmented across different brands, silhouettes, and even fashion values. It's no longer about Jordans and Yeezys, the only things that were hyped during 2016 through like 2018. Now people care more about full outfits, balance, and personal style. Branding itself has changed too. While name brands still matter, there's been a noticeable shift towards subtler, more diverse pieces. Even sneakers have become less loud, less obnoxious, and more about how they fit rather than what they prove. The culture isn't dead. It's just evolved past the uniform hype era that Kais represented, which is exactly why his channel now feels like a time capsule of a moment that no longer exists. Back when everyone shared the same obsession, Jordans, Yeezys, hype over substance. Sneakers will never truly die. That idea doesn't make any sense. We're human, we have feet, and we're always gonna care in some way or another what we put on them. Style, identity, function, footwear will always be a part of that. What has died is the resale bubble, the manufactured hype, and the illusion that sneakers were only valuable when they were scarce or expensive. The culture hasn't disappeared. It's evolved, spread out, and especially matured. People now care about different brands, personal style, fit, and expression over flexing the loudest pair in the room. And the ones still clinging on to the idea of sneakers are dead are usually the same people who built their entire online identity around the status of a shoe, not the love of it. When the hype faded, so did their relevance. And rather than accept that the game has changed, they'd rather pretend that the game is just over. It's dead. No.